Okay. So yeah, I remember I went to this tower, and I was looking over the whole city, and I'm waiting to get in this this elevator, and these two Indonesian kids were standing behind me, and they were literally right behind me, like pressed up against me. But there was only like five people in the whole room. There was no need to do that. There was plenty of space. And I was thinking to myself, like, is this kid trying to freak me out? And I got in the elevator and I looked at him, and he was just looking off like this, like nothing. So it was kind of weird. But I rode down to the Dutch Center, where all the old Dutch buildings were, and I kind of, in a way, felt like I was in old Amsterdam or something. And it was supposed to be also the port where the most amount of sailboats were, and I saw a whole bunch of them. But and I saw a few interesting native museums there from native artifacts and stuff. And I rode my bike down to the zoo, which was on the southern end of the city, and which is really far a ways away. And I rode an elephant and went to and then rode back. But Jakarta was one of these cities that's very polluted. Lots of this black smoke coming out of these tuk-tuks, and I thought that maybe I didn't want to ride my bike to the other end of Jakarta. I mean, Java, because I felt like I might get sick. So I took a boat, and I tried to get a ticket on a boat. It was a one-day trip, but problem was, I guess they said the boat was full, but they would sell me the cheap ticket. I think it was only like $1 for one day's trip. And they said that the bunk, the bed, all the beds were full, so they would just sell me a ticket that I would have to sleep on the outside of the boat. So I did that, and a sleeping bag on the deck of the boat. And there's all these people sleeping, like in the hallways, on the stairwells, as the stair comes up. And but during the day, I looked in where all of the beds were, and they were all empty. And so I don't know what they were thinking, but so basically this boat has people sleeping all on the deck and everywhere else in the boat, in the halls and everything, but all the beds were empty. And I think one night it was like, oh, that was another trip maybe. Yeah, that was another trip. So I got off at Surabaya, which is the second biggest city in Indonesia. And I rode my bike into town, and I was really sick. I got sick again. I got like asthma and some really bad fever from riding my bike around Jakarta. So I wouldn't recommend, I mean, I guess I could recommend riding your bike around Bangkok and Kathmandu and Jakarta, but make sure you have a mask on. So I went to the hospital again. They had a cool system. They didn't charge me much, and they like gave me some more antibiotics and inhalers and stuff. And I was shacked up in some hotel place where there were lots of other tourists I was hanging out with for like a week. I was sick. And then I rode my bike down towards the edge again and to the bottom of these volcanoes. And for some reason, I guess I didn't feel well enough or something, but I didn't want to ride my bike to the top, so I took a bus to the top of these volcanoes where and stayed in a hotel where there's this volcano, this whole crater that you can walk in, and it's really flat, and it's steaming everywhere. And you can hike up and look into where the steam comes off and look off in the distance. And there's another perfect cone-shaped volcano that's steaming. And I thought about trekking out to the top of that volcano, but I didn't do that. And I got on my bike and rode down, which was a really fun ride, huge downhill. And then rode towards the eastern side of Java for like a half a day or something. But then I kind of didn't have the motivation, so I just, it's cool because there's buses everywhere, bus stops everywhere. So I just waited at a bus stop, threw my bike on the roof, and took the bus to Bali. And I stayed in the tourist part of Bali on the southwestern end. I guess it's where all the tourists hang out, the discos and stuff, for like a night. And went, danced, was at their disco, and then the next day I went to the beach where there was like thousands of tourists and Indonesian tourists, and then hundreds of people surfing in the ocean, in the waves. Like traffic jam. They were like falling over each other, and I was originally going to surf there, but I didn't want to. I mean, compared to Nias, that wasn't surfing to me. That was just bumper surfing, kind of like going to like Water World or something. So I stayed there like 2 nights. And I rode my bike from there into Ubud, which was like a half day's ride, which is this like tourist place, but it's the art center of all of Bali, where all of the woodworkers are. And they also have dancers doing their traditional dances, and I watched that. And I think I stayed in Ubud for 3 weeks. It was just such a cool place. Good food, all these different restaurants, and tourists that I was hanging out with. And I had a really cool room too. My room was huge, and it was really cheap, like $3 a night or something, on the second story. And during the day, I'd ride around all around the whole island. One day, I rode my bike up, like straight up the mountain. It wasn't switchbacks. There's this big volcano mountain, and it wasn't so steep that they had to put switchbacks. So I just rode straight up the mountain, looking on the side of the road past all of the woodwork, and then rode down into the crater where there's this lake, and rode over to where they have, and then rented a little canoe to where there's this cemetery where they don't bury their dead people, some religious thing. And so I saw these, like, their dead people that were above land, and then they had little bamboo covering them so that the birds couldn't peck at them. And they were black. The people were black and like dry. They weren't rotting like you would think. They were just black, and so I guess that's what happens. Or maybe they like dipped them in salt or something. I don't know, but it's kind of a weird thing to do as a tourist thing. It wasn't like, it's kind of weird that they would use that to make money as tourists, and they weren't really, the boat guy wasn't really that friendly, but it was interesting. And then I rode my bike out of that crater, which was pretty steep, and then it was raining cats and dogs as I rode my bike all the way down, but it was warm. Oh, and then another day, I rented a motorcycle though, another day, and because I was going to climb the highest mountain in all of the whole island, and the trailhead was this nunnery, which was big and beautiful, because you were way up on the mountain, you could overlook the whole island. But it wasn't allowed to climb the mountain that day. I guess one day in every 2 years is the holy day where you're not allowed to climb that mountain, and I happened to pick that day. But they were having lots of like ceremonies and dances and things with all of the nuns dressed up and performing all that stuff. So that was interesting. And riding the motorcycle was interesting too, because everybody rides motorbikes there. So it was kind of like you're in a pack of motorbikes, stopping at all of the stop signs and riding through, jostling for position. And I remember at one point I was riding my bicycle, and there was a whole pack of motorbikers. I guess it was some kind of parade, some political parade, trying to advertise. See, that was when Suharto was ending his reign, and somebody else was coming up, and I think it was a woman, and they were like having the parade for her, and I was on my bicycle drafting off of all of them on their motorcycles. But anyways, I did the tour of another Hindu place, and the tour guide was really good. Anyways, I oh wait,